Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing today? I hope you're all doing great and staying positive. I am so excited to have you here because today we are going to talk about something that can change your life forever. This story will teach you an important life lesson. Success comes from taking control of your time, choices, and actions. Discipline is more powerful than motivation. Motivation fades, but daily habits and discipline create lasting success. This video could be the turning point you have been waiting for, so watch till the end. It's worth it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and join me on this journey to greatness. Chapter 1. David sat in his small apartment, staring at the pile of unfinished assignments on his desk. His phone buzzed constantly, messages from friends, notifications from social media, and reminders of events he had promised to attend. Yet, deep down, he felt lost. Every day felt the same. He would wake up late, rush through his day, and waste hours scrolling on his phone or watching TV. He kept telling himself, "Tomorrow, I'll do better." But tomorrow never came. One evening, as he sat in front of his laptop pretending to study, his uncle James walked in. James was a successful businessman, always confident and in control of his life. He looked at David and sighed. "David, do you know what your biggest problem is?" his uncle asked. David frowned. "What? You let life control you instead of taking control of your life." David shrugged. "What does that even mean?" His uncle sat down next to him. "It means you're letting distractions, laziness, and excuses decide your future. If you don't change now, you'll regret it later." David looked down, feeling ashamed. He knew his uncle was right. James continued, "Success isn't about luck. It's about choices. The question is, are you ready to take control of your life?" David didn't know the answer yet, but something inside him told him it was time to change. David couldn't sleep that night. His uncle's words echoed in his mind. "You're letting distractions, laziness, and excuses decide your future." The next morning, he stood in front of the mirror and asked himself, "Am I really in control of my life?" The answer was clear. No. Determined to change, he sat at his desk and wrote down 3 things he wanted to fix. Stop wasting time on social media. Create a daily schedule and stick to it. Focus on his studies and future goals. For the first time in a long while, David felt motivated. He turned off his phone, opened his books, and started studying. It wasn't easy. His mind kept wandering, and he felt the urge to check his phone. But he pushed through. Days passed, and his routine slowly changed. He woke up earlier, exercised, studied with focus, and even spent time learning new skills. His uncle noticed the change and smiled. One evening, James asked, "How do you feel now?" David grinned. "I feel in control." James patted his back. "That's the first step to success. Keep going." David still had a long way to go, but he had learned the most important lesson. Success begins the moment you decide to take control of your life. David had finally started changing his habits. He was waking up early, following a schedule, and staying focused on his studies. But soon he faced his first real challenge, staying consistent. At first, everything felt new and exciting. But after a few weeks, his motivation started to fade. One evening, he sat at his desk, staring at his open books. He felt tired. His phone was right next to him, and the temptation was strong. Maybe just 5 minutes of scrolling won't hurt, he thought. Just as he reached for his phone, his Uncle James walked in. He saw the hesitation on David's face and said, "Thinking about giving up?" David sighed. "I don't know. Some days I feel motivated, and other days, I just want to go back to my old habits." James sat down beside him. "That's because you're relying on motivation. But motivation isn't enough. Discipline is what keeps you going when motivation fades." David frowned. "But how do I stay disciplined?" James smiled. "Small daily actions. Even when you don't feel like it, show up. Study for just 10 minutes. Exercise for just 5 minutes. The key is to never stop, even if you do a little." David took a deep breath. He realized that success wasn't about doing everything perfectly. It was about showing up every day, even when it was hard. That night, instead of wasting time on his phone, he studied for just 15 minutes. It wasn't much, but it was something. And he knew that as long as he kept going, he would never lose control of his life again. Chapter 2. Weeks passed, and David stuck to his new habits. He wasn't perfect, but he was disciplined. Even on the days he didn't feel like studying, he still put in the effort. Slowly, he saw changes. His grades improved, he felt more energetic, and his confidence grew. But then, a new challenge appeared. One afternoon, his friends invited him out. "Come on, David, let's go to the gaming cafe. You've been working too hard," they said. David hesitated. He hadn't gone out in weeks, and he missed having fun. One evening won't hurt, he thought. At the cafe, time flew by. 1 hour turned into 3. By the time he got home, he was exhausted. He told himself, "I'll study tomorrow." But the next day, he felt lazy. He thought, "I've been working hard. I deserve a break." One missed study session turned into 2, and soon he found himself slipping back into old habits. One evening, his Uncle James noticed him watching videos instead of studying. He sat beside David and asked, "What happened?" David looked down. "I lost control again." James nodded. "It happens. But the real question is, what are you going to do about it?" David thought for a moment. Then, he took a deep breath, turned off his phone, and picked up his books. "I'm going to take back control." James smiled. That's the difference between successful people and everyone else. They don't stay down when they fall, they get back up. From that day on, David learned an important lesson. Falling off track is normal, but true success comes from getting back up and continuing the journey. And this time he knew, nothing would stop him from taking control of his life. David had learned many lessons on his journey, how to manage his time, stay disciplined, and get back on track after setbacks. But his biggest test was yet to come. One day, his school announced a prestigious scholarship opportunity. Only the top students would be selected, and the competition was fierce. David knew this was his chance to change his future. For the next few weeks, he gave it his all. He woke up early, studied hard, and avoided distractions. His friends invited him out, but he politely refused. He knew what was at stake. Finally, the results were announced. David had won the scholarship. Tears filled his eyes as he held the acceptance letter. He had done it. He had taken control of his life, and now his future was brighter than ever. That evening, His Uncle James said, "You see, David? This is what happens when you take responsibility for your life. You create your own success." David smiled. "And I'll never let life control me again." From that day on, David wasn't just a student. He became. In the end of the story, friends, I want to tell you one thing. Your future is in your hands. Will you take control or let life control you?